Hi, welcome to this channel on magnetic energy, technology, principles, applications. This video is magnetic energy and floating cities. So this is a bit of a futuristic prediction discussion about what can and will happen with magnetic technology in the future. And I mean, it could be sooner than you think. But what I do want to say is if you are if you have a character in the game right now and you are willing to embrace higher consciousness and live through your heart center, very likely you will be around again more than once for this type of world and reality with magnetic technology and higher consciousness. We've gone through a lot and we've earned some really extraordinary lives. So please hang in there, because you'll be back at a higher level of consciousness, much better bodies, much better reality and existence on this planet. And so enough of that. In the future, a lot of things are going to change on this planet, so you'll see the deconstruction of like all the power grids. They'll all be taken down. All of that will be disintegrated into harmless matter and energy, as well as most of the cities and roads. Most of the streets and roads will all be completely disintegrated, torn apart, in a magnetic way. So they'll be, like I like to say, they'll be deformulated. So they will be converted into benevolent forms of energy, non-toxic. And the thing is about our current technology as far as buildings and stuff, so much of the materials are not conducive to magnetic flow, to etheric flow, to vitality and health giving, life affirming structures. And so all of those will become dismantled. Most of the cities will completely be disintegrated essentially, and along with all the systems that continue to pollute the planet. So anything that has to do with like our waste systems and everything that are so archaic and they have so many chemicals involved, all of that will be completely dismantled, taken away. As the earth becomes this sanctuary that we start to live in harmony with and respect, along with that comes this idea of floating cities and this idea of having minimal impact on the planet and letting the ecosystem thrive naturally and become hugely bountiful again with a whole plethora of species, so that we can get back into the system being the way it was designed to be and being harmonious and full of life, and we have a minimal footprint on it, especially in terms of chemicals and pollution and everything. So imagine in the future, material science changes completely. So you have not only when we get to the correct understanding of gravity, which is this is from a magnetic model point of view. So when we get to the correct understanding of gravity and you combine that with a heart-centered society, an expanded level of awareness and consciousness, along with the technology to go with this enhanced understanding of gravity and what it really is, this changes all of our technology. It changes our cities. It changes how we present ourselves on this planet. So imagine let's just make up a number. It could be a 50-mile in diameter area, a circle on the planet where we have towers that are roughly 5 miles high. Now you could say, wow, how could we have towers that are 5 miles high? When you have material science that is based on this sacred geometry and based on these interlocking molecular structures, the materials that we'll be using they essentially become weightless because they are anti-gravitic in their structure, but then they also have this incredible strength. So you imagine this 50-mile diameter circle with these 5-mile high towers that are all surrounding this circle and all emitting this field that allows the whole area inside of this circle to have zero gravity in it. Now in that gives us the stage to construct zero gravity crystals and structures. So then imagine inside of that you have a disc, or it could be like an oblong disc, And let's say it's 20 miles in diameter and it's roughly 500 to 1,000 feet thick. So this whole disk is basically indestructible, and it becomes like a foundation, the foundation. So it's grown, if you will, it's grown out of materials, quasi, they could be steel, they could become crystal combined, but the whole thing becomes this foundation of a city. And I'm giving you one example of how this could be done with magnetic technology. So this disk then channels energy at all times. It is continuously flowing with magnetic energy at certain vibratory rates that allow it to be in a zero gravity, to express zero gravity. And it also has force field technology that creates fields all around it. Now, at the same time, then at that point, what you do is you have crystals, essentially massive crystal structures growing from the bottom of this disk that then continue this unlimited amount of power. So, and then on the top of that disk, you have a blank canvas to design essentially a city of the future, a city based on magnetic technology. This would be a city that is completely self-sustaining, has all the power it needs, has all the water, the food, all the material goods that it needs, and it's all based on magnetic technology. So all the structure, all the architecture in it is all like sacred geometry. It's all very life enhancing. All the materials used, they flow etheric energy. They enhance the beings that are on that city. That city would have the ability then to float at any altitude. So it could be low, it could be high, all the way out really into space. It's completely sheltered, completely protected from all the elements. And for the most part, these cities would probably float above all the weather systems. They'd be high in the atmosphere so they don't block out too much sunlight or stars at night, and they would essentially circumvent or they could just move all around the globe really in any direction they want, but it would allow all the people in there to essentially look at different areas of the planet and view those areas with ships and private ships and people having ships constantly coming and going from those floating cities to the planet to either like vacation or visit or hike or do whatever it is, but do their part to take care of the environment, to nurture the environment, to visit certain areas, but leave a zero footprint so that we look at the planet at that point as a sanctuary. And so everything that we need and everything that we desire is on these floating cities. And it also allows us to see the whole planet. I mean, you could say with more advanced technology that they would be designed for space travel as well, but these would just be more terrestrial in the sense that they're just designed to float and be around the planet. And now, as they're built and they're put together in that zero G environment, all of those crystals, as they grow, and they would grow spontaneously, like they would grow fast in that field, and they would grow with the exact molecular structures that we want them to grow in, with the exact pulse rates that we want them to grow in. So the city wouldn't have anything like pollution or jets or anything holding it up. It will naturally vibrate and emit a magnetic pulse that allows it to float freely at any altitude. So just want to make that clear. The physics of that is completely different than how we see gravity today. And of course, in the magnetic model, the view of gravity today is completely archaic and ridiculous. So as we move into the more advanced view of gravity and what it really is, things like floating cities and space stations become possible. And as you grow and you manufacture your materials in a zero G environment, it allows you to really create three-dimensional material like structures in those materials that allow them to perform the functions that we want them to perform. So the city is floating and it has zero moving parts. It doesn't need anything to hold it up. It's always going to be weightless. And it's sustaining and it can be there forever. And at the same time, it could visit other worlds with some modifications to it because the field around it is completely impenetrable. And it's just this idea of the future. If you imagine a planet in harmony and a peaceful situation where you can be in the airspace, if you will, of other countries, and you have multiple, I mean, gosh, we could have dozens or even hundreds of cities floating high in the atmosphere. And the interesting thing about this with the magnetic technology is that field can reflect and diffract light. So you can actually have a floating city that literally doesn't cast a shadow on the surface, and it allows sunlight to perfectly bend around it. So essentially, if you want, the city can be invisible to the inhabitants on the planet. To anyone that's looking up at it, it could essentially be invisible at day or night. And that's the cool thing about magnetic technology, is it allows you to have this manipulation of light and gravity and the elements, that you can have things like floating cities and space stations of any size that you desire, along with all of your energy and all your needs being met within those contained systems, so that you no longer need to be gathering resources from the planet to survive and to live off of. And the earth becomes a sanctuary. We honor it and respect it. We live from our heart centers, and that's a very cool life. There's a tremendous amount of experiences. The universe is very big, so when you get to that higher level of consciousness and you get to this point where we can travel abroad and take care of this planet, we become a very valuable member in a galactic neighborhood, in a galactic community. And boy, does that open some big, big doors that will blow people's minds beyond belief. And so, with that and floating cities, magnetic technology, get ready. Maybe not in this life, but definitely in other lives that you'll believe. And they will be just as real, much better than this current existence. So, with that said, I will see you next time.